Alright, so I'm gonna walk you guys through the way that you would use the terminal to like glue glue some commands together in a shell script. And the particular thing that I'm going to sort of use as a template here is a curl command. Curl is a way from the terminal to extract data. So the nice thing about it is I can say, for example, I could say go to www.google.com and get the URL contents, and it'll go grab them. So the nice thing about this is that if there's, say, for example, a text file that you want to get, you can just do curl, and you could say write it out to google.text, right? And it could go in and get it, and then I could go do more on it, and I could read the file, right? So it's a lot easier than going to that the downloads button like in Firefox when you're trying to download a big file and then you lose it, because curl will just go and grab that file directly for you. And the little caret sign right here is just going to say redirect the output to this file instead of redirecting it to standard out. So anyways, that's how curl works. Now in this case, I'm going to deal with the problem somebody posed to me recently, which is the problem of like, for example, in a large body of work, like for example like a PhD thesis, you might have a lot of sources, and those sources might come from different URLs, and you might want to know how many different like unique sources do I have, right? So this wonderful individual, his name is John Krakowski. He went on Stack Overflow, and he wrote somebody asked him this exact question of, I have these URLs and I want to sort of I want to make a unique list of domain names from a large set of URLs. And anyways, he answered the question, and he did a good job. He got 11 upvotes. Way to go, John. And then on top of it, he went and he actually released this code on GitHub for us. Okay. And so you can go to his little GitHub site, and you can actually go and you can grab this tldextract program, right? And what it does is, as you can see here, let's see, before I do it using curl, I feel kind of bad because I think I kind of ruined the surprise here. Yeah, setup tools. Yeah, right here, right? He went ahead and he has this little Python program. It's a Python module, and the Python module, you give it a URL as input, this tldextract in the most basic form. You could use it this way, and then it simply gives you this list back as a return. So I could see I gave it http forums bbc.co.uk, and it gave me BBC as the return value. Okay, so this does exactly what you want. It gives you the domain directly. So obviously this is nice, but the problem with it is that you have to know how to install, have to know how to do the Python package manager and pip and all that. And if you're not really super into getting pip installed, I mean, it only takes 2 seconds. Again, it's another curl command. But if you don't want to do that, the nice thing is Mr. John Krakowski has also deployed this thing on the appengine. Okay, so for those of you that don't know, appengine is Google's little free application server. I've used it before. I really like it. It hosts Java and Python apps. In any case, John Krakowski has put his little Python script on there, so I can actually do a curl, and I can have the curl go to tldextract.appspot.com, okay, and then in the extract parameter, I just give it the URL that I'm interested in decomposing, okay, and if I do that, then it'll give me my answer, right? So I can do any URL here. I can do www again, right? I can do my Google example, right? And it'll give me Google. I can do yahoo.com/a/b/c, and it'll disambiguate that one. So the nice thing about this is that he's provided us with a web service, so we don't actually have to install any software, right? So that's cool, but what happens if we want to do like 20 URLs, right? And so we don't want to do this manually. So what we're going to have to do then is compose a series of web requests. In order to do that, we have to build a shell script. Or we could do it again in Python, but so we don't really need Python for this. We can simply do it in the shell. So how do we do that? Well, the simplest way to do it is we open up in our, this is an OS 10, we could just do an open-e, and we could say my web, let's call this URL decomp.sh, and the sh is just telling it's a shell script. Okay, so it doesn't like that, and the reason it doesn't like that is because that file doesn't exist. So instead I'm going to do touch URL decomp.sh, right? And now that file exists, okay? And now I can go and I can launch it. And when I do open-e, it'll open it in my editor. In my default editor is TextEdit in OS 10. But the thing you want to do when you're using TextEdit is you want to go to the top, and my screen recorder won't show this, but you want to go to Format, and you want to go to Format, and you want to do Make Plain Text. So see, that is the rich text. You don't want to do rich text. You want to do plain text, like that. So that's how the window should look. If you do rich text, it'll do weird things. So anyways, now I have this shell script. So what's the shell script going to have? Well, it's going to have a bunch of calls to this URL decomposer, right? So here's the first one, right? And here's my second, here's my third, okay? And every time I'm just going to change my little my URL, right? Because I'm going to have different inputs. So if you don't know how to program, you can always just do this and, like, you know, and normally you might want to just do this in a loop where you read through a file, but for somebody that doesn't really want to code, they could, you know, you could just do this in an Excel spreadsheet, copy and paste. And then maybe this is going to be, let's do Yahoo again so we can make sure we get the same result twice. So we can make sure it's actually whatever. Okay, so now we got 3 websites, and let's put this under some serious load here, just to make sure that there's not some kind of restrictions on us using the URL decomp. So what is it called? tldextract. Let's make sure there's not too many restrictions. So I'm going to do a nice sort of like hefty set of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I don't know. Looks like, you know, 10, 15 requests here, and we can see how long that takes. So now I'll hit Apple S, okay, and that's going to save the file, right? So wow, it shouldn't have. That's kind of weird. Apple S, yeah, I don't know why this is. You would think it would just save it. Anyways, this is .sh, right? And I just want to save it in my development folder there, right? Because I'm just going to delete this. URL decomp.sh. Save. Replace it. Okay. Yeah, I'm not quite sure why it. Okay, whatever. For some reason, I tried to save it as the wrong file name. But in any case, you should now actually have a URL decomp.sh file, I mean. So here it is. Okay, so I can see that I now have like 10 calls to this guy's website. Right? So let's see if Mr. John Krakowski will allow us to run this. So in order to do that, what I have to do is I have to do change mod 777. So I have to convert this file that I just created. I have to convert it to executable. Okay. So now it's executable. Usually, sometimes that's an issue, sometimes it's not. In general, you should always do it. And now I can, now that it's an executable, I can do ./URL decomp, and I can just literally run this the same way that I would run any other program from the terminal. And let's see what happens. I have not tried this yet, and it works. Okay, so cool. So what you can see here is that I ran all 10 requests, and in a very short period of time, it actually returned to me for each one the domain name. And that's exactly what we need for extracting all the domain names from a large set of complex URLs, so that we can actually get a bead on how many different really truly unique sources we have. And then of course this is just a JSON, and you can load this directly into Python and parse it, but even better, you could, or even simpler at least, you could just put this into an Excel spreadsheet. You could do any number of things with it. You could also pipe it into the you could also directly pipe it into the sort command, right? So if you pipe it into sort, then as these things are coming in from the input stream, right? As these things come in from the input stream, they'll get sorted out for you. So all the Google requests float to the top. So just to overview, here's the history of my terminal. Here are the commands that I've run. URL decomp piped into sort will give me the sorted list. Okay. If I just want to test that the web server is running, I could do a curl, and that is but the most important, I think, of all is, of course, the bundling all these commands into the shell script, right? Oh God, how did I do that? Okay, so that was right here, right? So the most important thing is building this little shell script with all these curl commands. Once I have that, I can do any number of things with it, because now I can run these commands and programmatically access all this, all of John's, all the attributes of my URLs that John's program provides us with. So that's how you use the tldextract web server. And again, also, you could, if you really wanted to get into it, you could just actually run it as a direct Python module. Very, very useful tool. I wish I knew this existed a long time ago. And hopefully, for those of you guys that don't know how shell scripts work, you might have gotten a little bit of a tutorial on that too. All right.